3 a.m. shock. He traveled 4 hours to Texas, but what he discovered about his 58-years-old GF haunts forever. Josh had always trusted his girlfriend, Linda. The rumors swirled around town like a dark cloud. Everyone whispered about her. Her age, 58, didn't match the vibrancy of her social media posts, the wild nights out, and the parties filled with younger faces. But he shrugged it off until that fateful night when he drove 4 hours under a blanket of stars, the hum of his car engine the only company on the endless road. As Josh approached Linda's house, an uneasy chill settled in his bones. The air felt thick, almost electric, like the moments before a thunderstorm. He saw her porch light flicker, casting eerie shadows that danced on the ground. He stepped out of the car, his heart pounding, each beat echoing in the stillness. The walls of her house loomed large, whispering secrets that begged to be uncovered. Once inside, everything looked perfect. A half-empty glass of wine rested on the table, the sweet scent of roses filling the air from a bouquet wilting in the corner. But then he noticed something strange. Pictures were missing from the walls. Framed memories gone like lost dreams. Just empty hooks, waiting. He felt a lump form in his throat. What had happened to Linda's past? Why was it erased? Her phone buzzed on the counter, its screen lighting up with a message that sent a shiver down his spine. "We need to talk tonight." The name that flashed across the screen was unfamiliar, almost sinister. His hands trembled as he reached for it. But just then, the front door creaked open. Josh's heart raced. A shadow stepped in, someone he didn't recognize. A chill swept through the room, as if the temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. "Josh, what are you doing here?" Linda's voice sliced through the tension as she walked in, her face a mix of confusion and fear. And in that moment, he could feel the dark circumstances wrapping around him like chains. Why had Linda kept her world so hidden? Before he could think straight, everything spiraled. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Josh stared at Linda, confused and desperate for answers. Who was that? The words hung in the air, heavy with dread. But instead of answering, she turned her gaze to the shadow, a look of silent understanding passing between them that chilled him to the bone. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. Tension crackled as if they stood on the edge of a dangerous precipice. The weight of the unknown pressed in, overwhelming him. Who was she really? What dark secrets lay behind those doors? This was only the beginning. And he knew deep down, there was something dreadful waiting to be uncovered. And all he could think was, what had he wandered into? Josh couldn't shake off the unease that coiled tightly around him. Linda's eyes darted between him and the stranger who stood in the doorway, a figure wreathed in shadows, as if he belonged to another world altogether. The tension in the room was palpable, thick enough to slice with a knife. He felt every heartbeat drumming in his ears, each one a reminder of the danger lurking just beneath the surface. "Josh." Linda's voice was softer now, almost pleading. Her tone shifted, revealing the urgency that had been masked by her earlier confusion. "You shouldn't have come here." "What do you mean I shouldn't have come here?" His voice came out more frantic than he intended, echoing off the walls. "I thought we were honest with each other. What are you hiding?" The shadowy figure remained silent, arms crossed, seemingly pleased with the mounting chaos. Josh's gaze flared with anger and fear, bouncing from Linda to the stranger, a storm brewing within him. He stepped forward, challenging the uninvited guest. "Who the hell are you?" A smirk flickered across the stranger's lips, a hint of arrogance that set Josh's teeth on edge. "That's not important," he said, casually brushing off the question as if it were nothing. "What matters is why she has kept you in the dark." Linda looked down, her expression shifting from fear to something like resignation. "Josh, please what?" He interrupted, his voice sharper now. "Please explain why you're hiding things. Or please let this guy walk all over us. I deserve the truth." The room was suffocating, the air thickening with secrets unsaid. Josh could feel the pressure building in his chest. He wanted to scream. Instead, he focused all his energy on Linda, searching her eyes for answers. I came all this way, trusting you, believing in what we have. But this is not okay. Linda stepped back, her gaze flickering toward the stranger, then back to him. There are things about my past you don't understand. Things I thought I'd de-escaped. The man finally spoke up, his voice low and smooth. That is one way to put it, Linda. Maybe it's time Josh knew the truth. Josh's stomach churned. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I need answers. Now. Linda's lips trembled as she swallowed hard. You have to understand my life hasn't been what you think. I've made choices, bad choices, Josh. Choosing to forget or think I could forget. And now she trailed off, her face reflecting a deep sense of remorse. The shadows from the stranger slid closer, as if they had a life of their own, engulfing the moment, tightening the bonds of unspoken ties. What do you mean? What choices? You're scaring me. The room shifted. A sudden crack of thunder echoed outside, rattling the windows, as if the universe itself was reacting to the impending storm. The tension was unbearable, stretching like taut wire ready to snap. Josh, there are people looking for me, Linda said slowly, her voice cracking. People from my past. And if they find out you're here, fear gripped his heart like a vice, squeezing harder with each revelation. Find out what? The answers loomed, ready to surface. But before she could speak, a loud crash echoed from outside, drowning out their voices. The shadow smirked wider, eyes glinting with malice. Looks like the past is knocking, Linda, he said, stepping forward with a menacing confidence. Josh felt his heart race. Panic set in as he sidled closer to Linda. Who were these people? Why couldn't he just have peace with the woman he loved? Then, another loud crash, followed by frantic footsteps outside. Josh's breath hitched. The front door rattled violently. It was no longer just the three of them in the room. The storm was coming, and with it, the truth that could shatter everything. In that tense moment, he realized it all hinged on this. Would Linda step forward and reclaim her life, exposing her truth? Or would shadows keep their secrets buried? And as reality trembled, a singular thought crystallized in his mind. What had he truly signed up for? The door splintered open. A voice shouted from the darkness, and Josh knew this was just the beginning. The door burst open, splintering with a crash that echoed through the small house like gunfire, and Josh felt the blood drain from his face. Rain poured in, a cold slap against the warm chaos of emotions swirling around him. A figure stood framed in the doorway, backlit by the storm. Thunder rolled ominously, and for a moment, time itself felt suspended. Where is she? The new arrival demanded, voice booming with authority. Josh froze, caught in a limbo of questions and fear. This was no disrespectful stranger. This was danger incarnate, and it leaned menacingly in the doorway, blocking any chance of escape. The past has a way of catching up, the shadowy figure beside Linda said with that damn smirk still plastered across his face. Josh turned to Linda, desperation lacing his words. What is happening? Who is that? I can't. You don't understand. She stammered, tears shining in her eyes as she glanced helplessly between the two men. The intruder stepped forward, a silhouette slicing through the dark. He had a presence that commanded attention, exuding a mix of power and impatience. I don't have all night, Linda. This is your last chance. A chill raced down Josh's spine. He could feel the force of an invisible storm gathering in the room, one built on secrets, threats, and promises long broken. A lump formed in his throat as he realized whatever had haunted Linda was standing right in front of him. Last chance for what? Josh shouted, his voice trembling as he fought to maintain control. What do you want from her? The figure laughed, a low, chilling sound. Oh, honey, you're not even close to understanding. He gestured dramatically, a sweeping motion that filled the space with even more tension. Linda's debts are due, and when the time's up, there's no hiding from your past. Josh took a step back, heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. Debts? Linda, what have you done? Enough. Linda's voice rose above the chaos, a sudden flame flickering in her eyes. I thought I could leave that life behind. I thought I could make you safe. Before she could finish, the stranger took a single menacing step closer, his shadow stretching over Josh like a storm cloud. Safe, he repeated with a dark chuckle. No one is ever safe from the choices they make. The words hung heavy in the air, a proclamation of doom. Josh felt the walls close in. Linda was reckoning with demons he couldn't see, and he felt utterly powerless. If I'm not safe, then neither are you, Josh whispered, steeling himself. The anger that had been simmering within him bubbled over into defiance. You want Linda? You'll have to go through me first. The intruder regarded him, eyes narrowing in surprise. But there was something deeper in those eyes, a flash of respect maybe, or recognition. Brave little knight, aren't you? He taunted, but his voice held an edge of contemplative interest. But you're in over your head. This is bigger than you. A sense of dread twisted tight in Josh's stomach. He looked to Linda. Any bravado was fading. You need to tell me everything. Now. But before she could respond, sirens blared in the distance, splitting the tension like a knife. Eyes widened, and panic seized the room. Linda gripped Josh's arm, her face a mask of fear. They're here, she breathed, voice trembling. We need to go? Go where? Josh asked, but he could see already that the storm was upturning everything. The stranger laughed again, a low sound that came from somewhere dark and sinister. This has only just begun, my dear. The echoes of approaching sirens grew louder. Shadows danced around them, and Josh realized the truth. They had stepped into a nightmare from which there was no easy escape. Linda's voice, filled with desperation, pulled him from his thoughts. We really have to leave. Now. As they turned to dash toward the back of the house, that nagging dread grew sharper. What awaited them outside those walls? And as they threw open the door to face whatever lay beyond, one question blared in Josh's mind. Could they outrun the darkness closing in on them? With the sound of sirens drawing nearer, he knew time was slipping through their fingers. They sprinted into the night, the rain pouring down like nature's fury unleashed. The world outside was a blur of darkness, punctuated only by the distant, searching lights of police cars approaching fast. The weight of urgency rocketed through Josh as he pulled Linda alongside him. Where are we going? He shouted over the downpour, panic tightening his throat. Her grip on him was frantic, fingers digging in, as if he were her lifeline. Just run, she yelled back, glancing over her shoulder. Fear radiated from her, palpable and consuming. The threat was more than just the menacing figure behind them. It was in the air, heavy and electric, crackling with an energy that screamed danger. They navigated the muddy yard, slipping as the storm turned the ground slick. Josh's heart pounded with every beat, but rage burned bright against the fear. He felt powerful for the first time in this nightmare, stepping up to protect Linda in a way he never thought he could. They ducked around the corner of the house, breaths mingling in frantic gasps. The sirens wailed in the distance like banshees, the sound cutting through the heavy rain with brutal clarity. Glancing back, Josh saw the lights sweeping across the sky, and dread settled in. Then it happened, an explosion of light and thunder that coupled with the blaring sirens, bombarding their senses. The world around them felt surreal, a twisted landscape like something out of a nightmare, and they were running through it. Where do we hide? Josh panted, scanning the landscape. Dark trees loomed around them, and there, peeking through the woods, was a rickety old shed. It looked abandoned, but it was their only hope. Over there, Linda pointed, her voice strained from both fear and exertion. They pushed toward the shed, its rotting wood a bleak promise of shelter. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the scent of damp earth and memories long forgotten. They stumbled into the deeper shadows, pressing themselves against the wall as they tried to catch their breath. Outside, the rain scored the roof in rapid staccato, blending with the ominous rumble of approaching sirens. Do you think they saw us? Linda whispered, eyes wide as she peered through a crack in the shed. Her voice trembled, the fears spilling over, threatening to engulf her. Not yet, Josh replied, though he felt uncertainty gnaw at his resolve. He had to stay calm for her sake. But we need to figure out what to do next. Just then, the heavy thud of footsteps echoed nearby, and Josh's blood ran cold. The intruder had followed them. He pressed himself closer to Linda, his heart racing not just from fear, but from the relentless desire to protect her, no matter the cost. Suddenly, the door to the shed creaked ominously. It swung ever so slightly, revealing a narrow sliver of light cutting through the darkness. A figure loomed in the dim light, shadowy and terrifying. "Josh, what do we do?" Linda's panic swelled, barely a whisper, but it sent tremors through him. There was no retreat, no escape. "Stay quiet," he breathed, clutching her hand tight. Their breaths mingling in the silence, their hearts racing as one that the figure stepped inside, and Josh's mind raced, desperately searching for anything he could use. The intruder's intentions were still unclear, but the energy in the air crackled with intense danger. "Linda," came the voice through the shadows, almost obscured by the sound of the raging storm. "We need to talk." Josh's heart sank. He could no longer ignore the nagging realization this nightmare was only starting. And Linda had secrets that might rip them apart. As the figure moved deeper into the shed, Josh knew they were running out of time. What they would uncover next could change everything. "How far would you go to protect the ones you love?" he thought, gnawing at the truth behind that question, knowing whatever it was, they'd have to face it together. But first, they had to survive this moment. Would it be enough? "Who are you?" Josh growled, voice low and steely. He stepped slightly in front of Linda, instinctively shielding her, as though his body was a wall against whatever horror was poised to invade their sanctuary. The figure paused, shrouded in the dim light filtering through the crack in the door. Rain dripped from the brim of a wide hat, its shadow obscuring the eyes, but Josh could feel the weight of whatever they carried. It was more than just the rain. It felt like a tension thicker than the storm itself. "You shouldn't be here. Not now," the figure warned, taking a cautious step forward, and Josh's grip on Linda tightened. "On what authority?" he snapped. "You're the one lurking in the shadows." "Authority?" The figure chuckled softly, but there was no humor in it. "All of this, the police, the chaos, it's much bigger than you realize." Linda stiffened beside him, fear radiating from her as she leaned in closer. There was something in the stranger's voice, a sinister undertone that reeked of hidden truths. "What do you know about us?" she whispered, her trembling fingers clutching Josh's forearm. The figure paused again, hands averted as if caught between decision and danger. "I know she's in trouble, and I know you care for her," he said, his voice steadying. "But you need to understand, they're coming for you both." A silence fell. The pounding rain turned into a background hum, blurring the lines of reality as Josh struggled to make sense of what was being said. "Who's coming for us?" He had to press, had to know just how deep this rabbit hole went. Linda's breath was shallow beside him, her eyes wide and pleading. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" she asked, but even to her it felt unreal. The weight of the world seemed to close in, thickening the damp air around them. "No joke," he replied, and Josh could feel something shift. The figure took a step back, revealing a small badge that glinted in the half-light. "I'm not your enemy. I'm trying to help." A chill raced down Josh's spine. "Help?" It felt ironic, but parts of him couldn't dismiss the urgency in the stranger's voice. "Then tell us what the hell is going on." The figure leaned in closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "There's a man dangerous tied to the chaos. If he finds you," he paused, scanning the shed as if the walls had ears, "he'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants." Josh felt a surge of dread clawing at his insides. "What does he want?" "Linda," the figure said, locking eyes with her for the first time. "You know, and that's why you both have to leave now." Linda gasped, her expression shifting as memories flickered behind her gaze. "No, I didn't." Think the figure straightened, glancing toward the door. "Listen, we don't have time. He knows you're here. Once he realizes you've gone, there's no guarantee he won't come looking." The last words hung ominously in the air. Josh's heart raced, pulsing in sync with the raindrops hammering on the shed's roof. "What does he want with her?" he hissed, fear morphing into a protective rage. But before the figure could respond, a loud crash echoed outside, followed by a shout. Every instinct screamed at Josh to get Linda out of there. "We can't stay here." "Then let us go," Linda said, surprising him with a sudden resolve. As they pushed past the figure, a growl of thunder echoed, and Josh felt the urgency escalating. He could feel it in the pit of his stomach, a reckoning. They were heading towards something he couldn't understand, but every fiber of his being knew they couldn't turn back. The figure beckoned them, urgency flaring in his eyes. "The woods. Run." In that moment, Josh took Linda's hand. Together, they bolted from the shed into the blistering rain, leaving behind unanswered questions and the terror that chased them into the shadows. But as the night swallowed them whole, Josh couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever awaited them in the depths of the woods could unravel the truth behind Linda, as past a truth darker than the storm itself. What lay ahead would test everything. Would they be safe, or was this just the calm before the storm? The darkness enveloped them like a thick fog, swallowing their hurried steps as they plunged into the woods. Josh could feel the cold raindrops lashing against his face, but his mind was racing, driven by a primal urge to protect Linda. "Keep moving," he urged, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He could hear the distant shouts behind them, the chaos of people moving. The figure's warning replayed in his mind. "P.S. coming for you both." It was easier to focus on the threat rather than dwell on what Linda might know, or what he was too terrified to ask. Linda stumbled beside him, her face pale but determined. "Where are we going?" she gasped, eyes darting around in the enveloping shadows. "I don't know. Anywhere but here." The branches clawed at their skin, snagging their clothes, as if the forest itself was trying to pull them back into danger. A deep rustling from the thicket sent a jolt through him. The woods were alive with something sinister. Suddenly, Linda yanked him to a stop. "Josh, wait." She was breathless, but her gaze had sharpened. "What if this is a trap? What if he's lying?" "Who cares?" he barked, fear clawing at his throat like a noose. "We don't have time to question him. We just need to get away." But the doubt sat heavy between them, coiling tighter around his chest. He could almost see the questions swirling in her eyes. What was in her past? And how was it tied to the figure in the shed? The sudden crack of a branch nearby made them both jump. They looked at each other, wide-eyed, and without exchanging a word, they sprinted deeper into the woods. Each footfall echoed with the thudding of their pulse. A soft rustle turned into an explosion of sound. "Get down," Josh shouted, yanking Linda to the damp ground as a shadow flew overhead, booming through the trees. It was a truck, powerful headlights slicing through the night, searching, hunting. They were trying to find them. He could feel Linda's eyes on him, an unspoken question hanging in the air. She trembled as the truck slowed, its engine growling like a predator. The low voice from the cab shouted something unintelligible, and door slams rang through the night. Josh quickly turned to Linda. "We have to run. Now." "This is crazy," she hissed back, panic creeping into her tone. The terror in her voice resonated with his own fear, creating a terrifying symphony. "They'll spot us. Then let them try?" Despite the anger in his voice, doubt threaded through his resolve. What if they didn't make it? What if they found Linda first? With a surge of determination, he pulled her up. They sprinted again, ducking under branches and tearing through the brush, heartbeats sinking with the crashing rain. They needed a plan, a flicker of hope in the abyss. But just as they found a moment of cover behind a thick tree trunk, the shadows of figures emerged in the distance, illuminated by their flashlights. Josh's heart sank. The men seemed to come from nowhere, faces obscured, determination evident. Josh felt Linda tremble beside him. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice cracking as the reality set in. The forest loomed over them, and dread hung in the air. There was no hiding from the truth. They were running from something far more significant than just men in the woods. "We can't let them catch us," he said, gripping her hand tighter. "We need to find the river. If we can make it there," and then a voice sliced through the chaos. "You think you can escape?" Josh's breath caught in his throat as the figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar face, one he hadn't seen in years. The implications slammed into him like a freight train. He was the last person Josh wanted to see. "Josh." "Linda." The voice dripped with unsettling familiarity, and the realization sliced deeper than the cold air. The night churned with secrets unraveling in ways Josh never imagined, each discovery pulling him and Linda into a darkness they might never escape from. As the figures loomed closer, urgency thrumming in his veins, Josh realized the woods held more than terror. They contained revelations that blended fear with grim truths, and he had to decide before it was too late. Could they arm themselves with courage to confront the past, or would it consume them whole? And why did it feel like the woods themselves were watching? Josh froze, the recognition settling in his gut like a stone. The face was a ghost from his past, one he'd thought he left behind long ago. Mark. Of all people, it had to be him. "Mark?" he stammered, the name tasting bitter on his tongue. Panic surged through him. What was he doing here, and what did he want with Linda? Mark's smile masked malice, a predator-esque grin. You really thought you could just run away? It doesn't work like that. Linda's grip tightened around Josh's hand, her eyes darting between the shadowy figures and Mark. You know him? She asked breathlessly, a tremor threading through her voice. He is someone from my past, Josh managed to say, his heart pounding fiercely. Each second that passed felt like an eternity, the air thick with threats. He wanted to shield Linda from the truth, but the sinking realization was unavoidable. Mark was more than just a bad memory. He was trouble. Step away from her, Mark ordered, his tone putting blades between the words. The figures behind him advanced, flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. Let us go, Josh. We have to move, Linda urged, her feet shifting restlessly. In that moment, uncertainty coursed through him like electricity. He could feel Mark's presence, a dark vortex pulling at the edges of his mind. I want to let him. The words passed his lips, a promise mingling with desperation. Mark laughed, a monstrous echo that sent chills down Josh's spine. You're really going to protect her? With what? Your bravery? How endearing. His voice cracked with the outrageousness of it all, but behind that bravado lay trepidation. Josh shifted slightly, moving Linda back behind him, feeling exposed yet determined. They had to run, but where? The headlights flickered again, illuminating the encroaching mob. Josh squinted, overthinking every detail in the chaos unfolding. There was no escape ahead. Their only hope was to break from the imminent confrontation. Listen to me, he shouted, his voice resolute. You don't want to do this, Mark. Just walk away. Let us go. Walk away, Mark scoffed, stepping forward, his shadow elongating under the headlights. You think you understand fear? This little game is just beginning, Josh. In a heartbeat, the atmosphere changed. The chaos swelled and seized control. With movement, the group of men split and fanned out. Josh felt the pressure of the circle closing in, like a vice gripping tighter. Now, he shouted, and without looking back, he bolted, pulling Linda along. Her feet barely managed to keep pace as they tore through the underbrush, the thunder of footsteps chasing them. Branches whipped against their skin, each step fueled by raw panic. Where are we going? She panted, desperation creeping into her voice. To the river, he shouted back, but doubt clawed at his mind. Was it even a chance? The truck's engine roared back to life behind them, chasing them through the woods like a monstrous beast. Josh and Linda veered off the path, plunging into a thicket dense with brambles, hoping to shake their pursuers. Then, suddenly, Linda stumbled, falling to the ground with a thud. Josh! She looked up, fear etched into her features, muddy hands gripping the damp earth. Get up. We can't stop, he urged, extending his hand to her. But before she could reach for him, a chilling cry came from the direction of the truck. I can smell fear, a figure shouted, the echo gliding through the night like a predator reveling in the hunt. Josh's heart raced as reality crashed in on them. They were not just being chased. It was a game of cat and mouse, a sinister thrill fueling their pursuers. The woods felt more alive than ever, shrouded in shadows and danger. Panic surged through him when lights flickered again, cutting through the dark, swirling mist. Something cold and unyielding gripped his chest. As Josh pulled Linda up, a glimmer of dreaded understanding loomed over him. He couldn't confront his past without confronting the monster hiding within it. What if the whisper was barely audible, shaking with fear? Don't even think about it, Josh snapped, cutting her off. But in the back of his mind, doubt fluttered like a moth to a flame. Was turning back the only option they had left? With the shouts growing louder, they broke into a sprint. But the question loomed painfully in the fog around them. Could they outrun their own shadows, or had they already crossed a point of no return? The night was a relentless specter, closing in as Josh and Linda fled deeper into the woods. Shadows danced effortlessly around them, every crackling twig underfoot a reminder of the danger lurking just behind. The roar of the truck faded into the background, yet the adrenaline coursed through him like a raging river. He felt it in his bones, every instinct urging him to keep going. Josh, I can't keep this up. Linda gasped, her breath ragged, desperation raw. The moon illuminated her face, revealing the fear clinging to her like a second skin. Just a little further, he urged, pulling her hand tighter. They stumbled through the underbrush, limbs snagged by thorny branches. For a moment, he glanced back. The headlights flickered like angry fireflies, painting monstrous silhouettes in the distance. "Over here," he yelled, darting toward a cluster of trees, hoping to find cover. They ducked behind a thick oak, hearts pounding, breaths mingling in the cool air. "How do we get away from them?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Josh shook his head, eyes narrowed on the path behind them. "We don't. Not yet. Just listen." Forcing himself to breathe, he strained to catch any hint of their pursuers. But the night's silence was oppressive, wrapping around them tightly. Suddenly, the low hum of the truck engine roared back to life, a blood-curdling growl echoing through the trees. "We have to keep moving," he hissed, pulling her along again. Deeper into the darkness, as they pressed on, a wave of doubt swept through Josh. He couldn't shake the feeling they were playing right into Mark's hands. The memory of Mark's sinister smile haunted him, lurking just beneath the surface of his thoughts. They couldn't turn back. But where to go? The river? Are we really going to the river? Linda asked, her voice laced with fear. "It's our best shot. We'll find a way across." But even he felt the weight of his hope wavering as fresh terror gripped his chest. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the thicket. A branch snapped ominously nearby. Josh spun around, panic flaring. "They're coming." He grabbed Linda's arm, propelling her forward. A twisted path lay ahead, revealed between gaps in foliage. "This way," he shouted, leading her to a hillock that overlooked the flowing ribbon of water below. But as they clambered up the incline, something caught his eye, light glinting ominously on metal. "Stop!" Josh shouted, pulling Linda back just as he spotted a small, rusted outboard motor partially buried by brush. His mind raced. Could it be the answer? "What?" Linda asked, confused and breathless. "What is it?" He scanned their surroundings again, heart racing with a different urgency. "If we can get this to the river, we can make it to the other side." The idea sparked a glimmer of hope, but the reality of their situation crashed over him like frigid water. If they could get it to run, as his fingers brushed against the metal, familiarity struck deep. This wasn't just some random boat part. He recognized it. This was my dad's, he breathed, memories flickering. But even amidst the rush of nostalgia, another chilling thought crept in. Mark knew about this place. He knew about everything. "No," Linda cried, breaking the trance. "They'll find us here." The sound of footsteps thrumming against the earth grew closer, voices echoing through the trees mixed with heavy laughter. "Let us find them," one shouted, echoing Mark's disturbing tone. They had mere seconds. "Grab my phone," Josh commanded urgently. He needed light, any chance at making this work. Linda fumbled through his backpack, panic spurring her movements, and her hands finally grasped his phone. In the chaos, uncertainty reigned like a chilling specter. "We can't let them." The darkness erupted in sound growls of laughter, footsteps crashing closer. Josh felt a primal urge surge through him, a need to protect, to fight. "We're running out of time," he shouted. "We can't let him win." The grim resolve settled in his chest as he pushed aside the terror threatening to consume him both. "Let us make a choice," he said, eyes darkening with a newfound determination. "We fight back, or we turn into prey." But before they could make their decision, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness, shining straight at them. Panic flooded his veins. "Found you." Mark's sickly sweet voice twisted like a knife. "What do we do?" Linda's voice broke, her future hanging on a knife's edge. Josh could only see their nightmares reflecting back at him, old ghosts and new. The haunting question lingered as he scanned their surroundings, pulse racing. Would they survive this night, or was darkness destined to engulf them both? The beam of light felt like a physical blow, pinning them as effectively as any shackles. Josh's heart thundered in his chest as Mark's mocking laughter echoed through the trees. "You thought you could hide?" he sneered. Josh's fingers trembled, gripping the rusted motor tighter. There was no time to waste. "We need to move," he spat out, turning on his heel and yanking Linda along with him. "But where?" she cried, breathless and terrified. "Down to the river," he replied through gritted teeth. He shoved the phone in his pocket, praying he'd find the chance to use it. They sprinted into the underbrush again, making their way towards where the water whispered promises of freedom. But the narrow trail twisted and turned, branches clawing at their clothes like vengeful spirits, each tug reminding them they were very much alive and being pursued. Mark's voice continued to slice through the night, drawing closer. Run faster, kids. It's more fun when you're scared. His sickening glee sent chills cascading down Josh's spine, a stark reminder of their dwindling time. The moon, a sliver of hope above them, illuminated their path just enough to see obstacles scattered like forgotten dreams. They navigated a maze of gnarled roots and rocky outcrops, hearts pounding in synchronicity with every step. But then, just as they reached the edge of the riverbank, Josh stumbled, nearly tripping over a submerged boulder. Catching himself, he turned to Linda, panic etched in her wide eyes. "We can't stop now," he urged, but the doubt was creeping back in. Would they make it across, with only the faint glow of the moon guiding them? Josh spotted a small pile of driftwood on the bank. "We can build a raft," he yelled, digging through the debris fervently, adrenaline fueling each desperate movement. Linda joined him, her fingers fumbling as she collected what she could. "But what if? Josh snapped. "We need to focus. This is our chance." He felt the urgency sharpening his senses. They had to work together, and fast as they assembled their makeshift raft, laughter behind them turned into chaos. "Look, they're right there," shouted one of Mark's friends. The sound electrified the air, dulling Josh's hope. "Shove it in," he commanded urgently, pushing the fragile raft into the water, praying it wouldn't sink like their hopes. It floated not perfectly, but it floated. They took a moment to breathe while the river lapped at their feet. But their reprieve was short-lived. Heavy footsteps crunched against dry leaves, closing the gap. From the shadows, Mark's silhouette emerged, towering and looming like a predator ready to pounce. "Did you really think you could escape?" he taunted. The flashlight beam now stabilized on Josh and Linda, uncomfortably bright, illuminating their desperation. "Now, get in," Josh shouted, shoving Linda onto the raft before he jumped in himself. The water was cold, biting into his skin, but there was no time to worry about that as the raft pushed out into the current. Josh scrambled to maneuver it downstream. If they could just get far enough, they might lose him in the twists of the river. "I can't believe this is happening," Linda gasped, gripping the edge of the raft with both hands. Panic squeezed his chest as he glanced back. Mark was standing on the shore, silhouetted against the night, eyes gleaming with unhealthy hunger. "Just keep paddling," he yelled, fear mixing with desperation. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed as Mark hurled a rock towards them, and it splashed into the water close enough to send giant ripples coursing through their fragile craft. Josh's heart sank. "Faster," he urged, but the current was pulling them into uncharted territory. He could barely see where they were headed. Just then, Linda screamed, her hands slipping from the edge. "Josh!" she cried, eyes wide, fear engulfing her. He lunged to grab her, but the raft wobbled precariously. The current swirled violently around them, dragging them further away. Josh's mind raced. The river was wild and unpredictable, but he would do anything to hold on to Linda. "I won't let you go," he shouted, reaching out, panic bleeding into the air. With only moments to spare, he could still hear Mark's bitter laughter echoing in the distance. The night was alive with darkness. Would he grab her in time, or was the current about to consume them both? The water surged violently around them, tugging at Linda's terrified grip. Time seemed to slow as Josh leaned forward, heart hammering in his chest. He could see the sheer panic in her eyes, a mirror of his own horror. "Hold on," he yelled, lunging with every ounce of strength left in his body. For a terrifying moment, the river roared like an angry beast, threatening to swallow them whole. With one desperate grasp, his fingers collided with hers, and he pulled her back onto the raft just as she teetered perilously close to the edge. The force of the water pushed at them, the raft spiraling dangerously. "Josh, I can't." "You can," he urged, panic mingling with determination. "Just hold tight." The current propelled them forward, wild and unrelenting. Josh struggled with the makeshift paddle, his arms screaming from exertion, but the glint of moonlight on the dark, rushing water gave him a fierce sense of clarity. This wasn't just survival. It was a battle, one he would not lose. He felt Linda's grip tighten around his arm. They were in this together. He caught a glimpse of Mark on the shore, his silhouette framed by the shadows of the trees. This is not over. You think you can run? Mark bellowed, voice cutting through the chaos. The threat hung heavy in the air, a reminder that their nightmare wasn't finished yet. They turned a bend in the river, and suddenly the current swept them into a widening pool of calm water. Josh focused on breathing, forcing his heart to slow. We did it. We're safe. He gasped, hope blooming through fear. Are we? Linda replied, her eyes darting back toward the shore. What if he follows us? We can't stop. That was true. They needed to put distance between them and Mark, but for now, they had a moment to gather strength. Let us just catch our breath, he urged, scanning the darkness around them, the air thick with uncertainty. His instincts kicked in as the shadows of trees loomed closer on the bank. We need to find cover, he muttered, steering the raft toward a cluster of large boulders that jutted out of the bank. Over there. With a final desperate push, Josh guided the raft closer until they landed with a soft thud against the rocks. They scrambled out, clad in shivering wet clothes, adrenaline still surging through their veins. Now what? Linda whispered, her breath visible in the cool night air. That urgent question hung between them like a storm cloud. We have to keep moving, Josh replied, locking eyes with her. Mark might not have followed us yet, but we can't take the chance. They plunged into the trees, hearts racing with fear and urgency. Josh led the way, navigating the dense underbrush while listening for any sign of their pursuer. Mark was dangerous, and Josh could feel a sense of dread building in his gut. But as they wove their way deeper into the woods, Linda suddenly stopped, grasping his arm. Josh, wait. I need to tell you something. The sincerity in her voice froze him in his tracks. The weight of everything hung in the air, a mixture of fear and necessity. He could sense the importance of what she was about to say, but the urgency of the moment was like an anchor. Hurry, he urged. About my past, she began, her voice trembling. You deserve to know I was involved with some wrong people. I thought I escaped. I didn't think they would find me. But Mark, he's one of them. He asked the reason I had to run. The confession hit him like a bullet. His breath caught in his throat, and understanding washed over him. So he has been hunting you? He wants revenge for what I did. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke, an emotional storm building. And he won't stop until he finds me and you. Josh's heart sank, understanding the gravity of the danger surrounding them. Then we can't let him find us, he said, feeling the fire of determination rise. We'll figure it out together, I promise. Suddenly, they heard a rustle coming from the direction they had just come. Panic surged through him again. They were being hunted. We need to move. There's no time. As they sprinted through the trees, a panic-filled thought hit him. Their fate was intertwined now more than ever. Linda, you have to trust me. We'll outsmart him. They charged forward, fingers interlocked, relying on the hope that they could find safety together. But the deep shadows in the forest began to close in. Would they find a way to escape from the chaos surrounding them, or would the darkness consume them entirely? They ran until exhaustion settled into their bones, ducking into another small clearing. Rain fell lightly now, the storm fading away, echoing their own exhaustion. They stood there, faces pale and clothes soaked, hearts pounding like drums. Linda started, her breath heavy with tension. Shoo, he whispered, pressing his finger to his lips, eyes scanning the darkness. The pressure of silence wrapped around them, every breath a promise. They had survived the worst of the storm, but danger was still lurking just around the corner, waiting for the moment they would let down their guard. Maybe we can hide, Linda suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. Josh caught a glimpse of a narrow cave entrance obscured by foliage nearby. There, he pointed, urgency rising again. Let us go. They slipped inside, the darkness enveloping them like a protective shroud. The cave was damp and echoing, a single droplet of water plopping rhythmically from above. They huddled together, hearts racing, waiting in darkness for the uncertainty ahead. How did we even get into this mess? Linda whispered, wrapping her arms around herself. Josh shot her a reassuring look. We'll find a way out. I promise. Just hold on. The moment stretched, each heartbeat echoing the fear of the unknown. They had made it this far. Somehow, they had to keep fighting, keep moving forward together. And in that darkness, the kind that felt both suffocating and alive, he knew one thing for certain. No matter what came next, neither of them would face it alone. Maybe the road ahead was murky and fraught with danger, but as they clung to the flicker of hope in their hearts, they were ready to run into the unknown once more. It was fight or flight, and they were in for the long haul together. If you thought this was intense, wait till you hear what comes next. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of these exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm like it's starving. Flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about what just went down. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let's keep this adventure alive.